Hi and welcome, it's Jim from maverickstar. I'm having a glass of wine tonight. I completely, recommend you do the same and chill out, because you know what, just take a pause in life and look around what's going on. It's not good, and we all know that for lots of reasons. But here's my story. Over a decade ago, I remember, this wasn't the driving point of this observatory, by the way, but I remember the Mayan calendar coming up in 2012 saying that there was going to be some, events that we were all going to experience, and this was a significant time for a lot of reasons, and nothing happened. And that was what I think really drove me then to start looking at the real things that are happening. And then I come across this, the magnetic pole reversal, and it's been known for 120 years now that the pole has been racing across the northern hemisphere at an incremental rate, which is increasing every time. It's like it's getting up in the gear shifts, so it's allowing it to go faster over shorter periods of time. And there are obviously a lot of other people on YouTube that talk about these things, but I don't think they could ever be credited for what we have actually done here at the maverickstar Observatory. We created an online observatory so that people could see the progression of the magnetic North Pole. This had lots of problems to start with. If you approach a company, electronics company, that is in the field of the capability of building some equipment for you, you're going to come back with some results that, if you're on just a standard wage, you're not going to be able to pay for that. So what is the other alternative then from that point? Well, in our case, we took it upon ourselves to go the hard way, the long way, and build it ourselves. After having people come back and say, "Oh, it's going to need electronic engineers, project managers, this, that, and the other." Your professional companies that manage electronics in these sort of arenas, and satellite builders. You can imagine how much money they was asking for that. It was just completely not applicable to our platform. So the only other alternative was having a good, strong, solid foundation in science, and having the willpower to build the electronics and learn about them and persevere was the only way we was able to get to where we was today. And people have persecuted me for being hardworking and doing my best. And I'll explain a little bit more. Let's talk about the 40-degree mark, what you can see here on the screen now. It's not very professional. I don't think that's the best word to use, but it's not a good thing to predict a date. But we did it anyhow, based on the data that we was collecting over the short period of about 5 years. We was able to say, this could be a turning point. And then based on some experiments that we did using, rotating magnets that you've seen, the simple experiments, and use Occam's razor, that which tends to be simplest, tends to be the true outcome of an event, or, your understanding of that event. And that's what we did. And we said 40 degrees, once this has travelled 40 degrees, the magnetic North Pole, we will start to see some unusual events start to take place. And we were right. Universities, professors at these universities start to come out and say, through their own equipment, they've noticed the detection of a slowing down of the Earth's core, to the point where it may stop and may even reverse. Those are the exact same scenarios which you would expect to take place during a magnetic reversal. the internal core of our Earth rotates and produces what's known as the magneto. And the magneto produces the magnetosphere, also produces the dipoles on our planet. And when that starts to slow down, then the poles start to accelerate and the magnetosphere starts to collapse. We've seen all three of those. And we've seen them in a 2.5 year period that we predicted that this would happen. So we was on the ball with our theory. So this theory was starting to be proven right. But, you know, there were other channels on YouTube that were covering this same anomaly as us, that used that as, you know, the 40 degree mark as, you know, an angle to attack us, and they absolutely exhausted that avenue to do that, as well as other government organisations. They did that. They tried to, you know, discredit us, and they did a great job, I've got to say that. And you know, they've had their laughs and sniggers in their little fly on the wall conversations that they've had about this observatory, but we've been dedicated because we were the only ones that sent out magnetometers to China and to the east and west coast of Australia, and to Bali, and to Arizona, and to Canada. You know, we took that initiative, not just to send the magnetometers out, but also to utilise what MIT had freely made available, which was in the line of our research, which we had those circuit boards printed, had them made up and built them, and we didn't charge those people, any of these people that wanted them. Oh, we had Kentucky as well. There was a few. California we sent equipment out to, and every time, you know, this is coming out of my pocket, or, you know, some people had chipped in a few bucks so that we could build the equipment and send it out. You know, every time, you know, we sent it out free of charge. We never charged anything. And, you know, as you know, we can't get advertisement because YouTube don't like our stance, because they seem maybe threatened by organisations that will cut their licensing now, as we see around the world, and for that reason they persecute you. And that's a real sad thing, because there was at some point around May last year, you know, showing signs that this observatory could go that little bit further. I'm not talking, you know, millions of miles forward. I was just talking the next rung on the ladder, where we could, you know, get the revenue up to a certain level where we could start then thinking about making it more important. And I think it's really necessary to be thinking about the magnetic anomaly that's taking place right now as very important, because it can, you know, I don't want to be hysterical about it, but at the worst case scenario, it can be terrible. That's all I'll say. We have witnessed the history of our, you know, closest planets go through this, and you know, we are 500,000 years overdue the magnetic reversal. So there must be, you know, a precursor for why that is taking place so slowly right now, when on average it used to go through a reversal every 300,000 years. So immediately it caught my attention. But do you know what it's like to have such enthusiasm in a topic which is not widely known, and go through all these struggles, and then deal with these people that are so negative about, you know, the work that you do? You know, you do your best at the end of the day. That's me. You know, that's what all I want to do. I don't want to cheat people out of money. I don't want to con them. You know, we'd never, at the end of the day, and you must realise this. You have to realise this. You know, what attempts have we made to commercialise, you know, this subject in any way or form, as the other channels have that talk about this subject? Yet we have been the ones that have built the equipment. You know, we are definitely the underdog that has been trod on repeatedly, unfairly, so that these people could look better in their arenas on YouTube that talk about the same subject. If ever there was an observatory that really deserved funding, it would have been ours, because we did the work and not just talk the talk, but we walked the walk. You know what, I love that about what we've did, even though it seems a complete failure. I don't think this is the end of our observatory, I really don't. I think there are mountains to climb, and you know, I'm not giving up. I won't give up, because I'm so passionate about it. You know, I love the field of magnetics and geomagnetics and the magnetic reversal that we're going through, and because of all the implications which it involves, you know, the collapsing of the magnetosphere that protects us from the harmful sun rays and solar radiation, you know, the intergalactic radiation that creeps through the weakened heliosphere into our solar system and, you know, decays our ever decreasing magnetosphere, which allows more cosmic rays inbound into our planet, and in turn has an effect on our climate. And at the same time, there are the political agendas where, you know, you see these politicians talking about CO2, though they're experts, but you know what, the reality of the subject that they talk about with regards to CO2 is so weakly founded. You know what, it would not hold up in a court. And it's sad, because it's an exploitation of the lack of knowledge, the lack of expertise in the field, and the lack of knowledge in the field that they're talking about, that they're exploiting, because they just expect that the general person out there is complacent to hear what is said on mainstream media. And we know that this is changing now. There is a big change in what people want to watch and where they want to get their information from, and that this is the next biggest thing, I think, in our lives, you know, because when we start to choose where we source our information and we reason with what we see, I think that there couldn't be anything better taking place right now. That is actually taking place, and you can hear them crying about it. You know, if you listen to what they said at Davos just recently, we used to be the gatekeepers and we've lost the initiative, and rightly so, because when your initiative was to deceive the general public globally, then why should you have the keys to that information? And I love it, I really do. I absolutely love it that people are seeing through, you know, the curtains of these people that talk about the magnetic North Pole right now. You know, it's clearly open to everybody to see, those that do the work, those that don't do the work, those that are genuinely passionate about the subject, that simply want to help others understand it. And you know, that's just one little thing that we do. We've got a couple of other things that go on in the background as well. You know, one of them is energy and alternative sources, and I'll just talk briefly on that. Recently we've been doing those hydrogen cell experiments. You know, they're still ongoing, and it's promising. That's all I can say right now. And it only takes one thing to work out amongst 1,000 things, if you're prepared to put the effort in and that hard work to fail 1,000 times to get that one thing that works. And that will be the success story from any successful rich person that you've ever met in your life. You know, that's what I'm about. I just wish, I really wish there were more people standing behind me, even more so right now, because this is a time where we've surpassed the 40-degree mark, and I've had people heckle me saying, oh no, you've said the 45 degree mark. It's only based on what other people have said and the information that I've read, that at some point in between these two marks, you know, the poles do something. We predicted 2.5 years, you know, big changes. We saw those this year, and last year we started to see the poles start backtrack, you know, towards Canada, then go back towards easterly. Now we're going easterly. Look at that experiment. Before that needle on the compass flips, there's a little hesitation, and I'm predicting that will be the case here. You know, whatever anyone wants to say, you know, all these pin marks in this map that you're looking at here, going back to the 1900s, is a demonstration of a rare event. Now, in America, they're talking about the solar eclipse that happens every 7 years. Big whoopity-woo. This is an event that, if we just look at excursions, happened the last time 12,000 years ago. That's a big number. And if we're talking about completed reversals, where the magnetosphere will collapse to a very minimal amount and expose every living biodiversity on this planet to radiation, we're talking 780,000 years ago. So this is the rare event, which really is not being talked about, and your organisations out there absolutely are fully aware of it. They know the implications. They are probably just not coming up with any ways which they can do something about it, because I believe if everyone knew the true implications, maybe, you know, they're right in not telling people. I think you get what I'm on about. So this is a big event, and the other big event on our, you know, course of life for us, the living human beings right now, in the continuity of humanity, is the returning back to a glacial period. And people say we're not returning back to a glacial period. Well, look exactly where we are in the Milankovitch cycle, because you can't tell me we're not. We're on the cusp of some major events, and they're just not getting the coverage they need. Guys, we should have been like massively funded up by now, massively, and we should be producing a lot more, because we can only produce what we can get. And you know what, I spread things thinner than butter on a bread. I really do. You know what, I make the most of every penny we get here, but we're just massively underfunded. At the same time, the corruption is raising trillions of pounds for CO2 climate change. Go figure. But the good thing is that you guys are slowly waking up to all this, and I really love that. You know, it gives me confidence. There's a link down there if you want to help support a real observatory with real equipment that don't regurgitate garbage off the internet. I'm your man. I'll say what I usually do. Bye for now.